So we continue our in-depth team coverage, spanning the globe, to bring you what we saw over the weekend. We start at SoFi Stadium in the hood in Inglewood. That was the site of the AFC West brouhaha as the dinged-up Chargers, they didn't forfeit the game. They still had to play the game. And they were taking on the big boys, the team in the penthouse of the AFC West, Kansas City. So I don't know if you saw this or not. Maybe you were not watching. It was the big game on CBS. Patrick Mahomes had 245 yards. Not an amazing statistical day. He had a touchdown. The Chiefs spotting L.A., 10 early points, and then rallying from that 10-point deficit, and they come back, and the Chargers do what the Chargers always seem to do. They find a way to lose 17-10. An NFL game where neither team crossed the 20-point threshold, and Kansas City improves to 4-0 for the first time way back in 2020. It was some kind of pandemic that happened in 2020. I barely remember it. But that's the last time the Chiefs were 4-0. And Travis Kelce breaking out of a season-long futile performance streak as Kelce had a season-high 7 receptions for 89 yards. He did not find the end zone, but has a new franchise record as he passed fellow tight end Tony Gonzalez, who now dresses like a really annoying person you want to punch on television on Amazon. But the subplot here involves Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice. Speed racer Rashee Rice, as he is down for the count. Multiple reports here in the overnight indicating a snap, crackle, pop situation. He is mutilated his ACL, a knee injury there, an interception, and a collision with his teammate Patrick Mahomes. They call that friendly fire. Head coach Andy Reid told CBS that it is not good. He said during the broadcast, and reports continue and indicate it is a season-ending injury for Rashee Rice. So let us discuss the question. While not confirmed yet, we'll assume the reporting is somewhat accurate. The question is, how do the Chiefs handle another big playmaker leaving stage left? Rashee Rice out for the year, it would appear. So I've got Scorpion, Jim Mora, and Assessment Tracker. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make the Baba Ganoush is what we're going to make. We're going to make the Baba Ganoush. So first of all, right, off-season gains have vanished. Presto, abracadabra, see you later. Remember all the time, and we were right there. It looked amazing. It was really a wonderful addition in the offseason. Now, Rashee Rice was already there, but you looked at the Chiefs weaponizing at the playmaker position. The argument was last year they weren't fast enough, they weren't quick enough, they weren't good enough, so they loaded up. They got some firepower. They weaponized for Patrick Mahomes. And now you look around, and you think of it like in the candy bar game, the Chiefs, when they went to training camp, the assumption was they would have the three musketeers in terms of playmakers at the wide receiver position. And now they're down to a Mr. Goodbar, and they're not even sure if that's a good Mr. Goodbar. It might be expired. You don't know what you have. You have no idea what you have. 66% of the speed demon ratio gone. Hollywood Brown not going to play for Kansas City. So he's out. And now Fast and Furious wannabe star Rashee Rice, who you don't want driving if you're in Dallas on the highway there, he's out for the year. So this one is a Scorpio sting is what it is. The venom is going to linger. Now, the good news is that there's still time to address this, and the Chiefs can make a trade. There are teams that have already fallen out of contention that have no realistic path to success that you look at and say, well, there's players that they could get if they're willing to meet the asking price, and I'm sure that'll be brought up. We'll talk about that as we go through the week here. But there's one guy left. It's Xavier Worthy, and who knows? We don't know whether he's going to be really, really good or not. Yeah, he's got a lot of speed. There's been plenty of players that have speed. You and I have both watched the NFL for years. There's guys that come in that look like they should be amazing, but they never end up living up to the stuff that's written about them on the internet. And as long as Patrick Mahomes, though, is there, it's like the Chiefs. It's like thinking of it in terms of the thespian world, right? As long as they have the prince, Mahomes, Hamlet can go on, right? They have the prince and Hamlet. They're good to go on that, and so they're fine. They'll find a solution. And if they have to play plodding football like they did last year, they'll play plodding football like they did last year, which makes it much more difficult. But the defense in Kansas City is still top shelf defense. So they don't have to be that great on offense, and they're 4-0, and the offense really hasn't been dominant. Mahomes hasn't been amazing to begin the year. You're not supposed to say that part out loud, though. You're not supposed to say that part out loud. All right, now, the losing locker room, which is usually the better story here, and that's where we're going to go right now. So what are you seeing from Jim Harbaugh's Chargers? Like, what are you seeing here for Jim Harbaugh's Chargers? So this game, much like we talked last hour with the Bills, and they hadn't really done much, and this was their first opportunity on Sunday Night Football against the Ravens, and they went out there and laid an egg. Well, a similar scenario. New identity, new attitude. This was an opportunity for the Chargers to make an early season statement and show the NFL, hey, this is a different Charger team. This is not the same old Chargers. That they might have that little soft blue uniform on, but they're going to go out there and compete and take down Kansas City, and status quo. Status quo for the Bolts. It was a measuring stick game, and they did not measure up at all. Sorry. Here is Jim Harbaugh pointing out that, well, it's not about this game. It's about what's up ahead.
Got to look at it how we respond, how we respond from here, and be like starting the season over again. We come back.
Yeah, they have a bye week up ahead. You could argue they had a bye week on offense after the first two times they touched the football in this game. I love when coaches do that. It's on to Cincinnati, like Belichick back in the on to Cincinnati. Well, you just played this game. Well, that's what we do next. How about Justin Herbert, who had a hissy fit? You see this? He threw his helmet. He chucked his helmet. Just threw it down. See you later. Goodbye. Had a hissy fit. Here is Herbert on what has to happen now for the Bolts.
I think there have been plenty of games, whether they're wins or losses, where they've been close games. That's the NFL, and so we're ready for that. And we fell short today. There's plenty of times where we can turn on the tape and see us come away with one or go score. We have to stay patient, understand that we got the right guys out there. We didn't execute, didn't go our way today, and that's not going to stop us going forward next week, 2 weeks, whenever it is. That's just the way the NFL is.
What about you throwing your helmet? No comment on that. All right, anyway, so the Chargers, if you look at this, the Bolts scored 10 points. We talked about this earlier, but they scored 10 points off a pair of Chiefs turnovers. Now, one of them was still a long drive for the Chargers, but there was a fumble by Carson Steele and a Mahomes interception, his fifth interception of the season. And so Jim Harbaugh and this Charger offense with Justin Herbert, they got together, they huddled up, they called an audible, and they channeled former FSR alumni member and coach of the New Orleans Saints from many years ago, Jim Mora, and they decided we're going to change our offense here. We're going to call the offense we couldn't do diddly poo offensively, and that's what they did. They had 8 drives after the early lead, 6 punts, a missed field goal, and a turnover on downs. And as far as the ground and pound, J.K. Dobbins held the 32 yards. That's it, 32 yards on 14 carries. And as far as the Chargers and that dynamic running offense, turn at the last, the party's over. Oh, but they didn't have some offensive linemen. Okay, well, they still played the game. I checked. I actually called the NFL. I said, can you cancel the game until the Chargers are healthy? Because therefore they'll have a better chance to win. The NFL said, no, we play the games when they're scheduled. That's why you have backups. So unfortunately, the excuse I know many Charger apologists would like to make does not work. Now, final thought. To Arizona. That is where the Washington football team Boy, this is something that hasn't happened in my life since they used to be called the Redskins when they had Joe Gibbs as the coach. That you want to watch the Washington football team play the old Redskins? Wow. Yeah. Quarterback Jaden Daniels and the Commanders pulverizing the Cardinals, shredded Cardinal. 42-14. They improved to 3-1 on the season, and they are in the catbird seat right now. You look at teams in the NFC East, and that team right there from Washington at the very top. So describe the performance by Jaden Daniels in 2 words. 2 words. All right, I've got legendary myth-making. He's building the myth that will make me eventually hate him. This always happens, right? Young player plays well, everyone kisses his ass, and eventually I grow to hate the player. I'm not at that stage yet. I know the circle of NFL stardom. At this point, I'm not at the I hate you because you're too popular stage. I enjoy watching Jaden Daniels play. I watched a lot of this game. Jaden Daniels was not amazing. Had 280 yards, had accounted for a couple of touchdowns. And the Cardinals provided minimal resistance, as they often do. Daniels did not collapse after that breakout game against the Bengals. This was a classic letdown spot, short week, road game against a team nobody gets up for, against Alligator Arms Murray, the little fella. And yet, Washington still went out, Daniels went out and played at a high level, outperforming the opposition. That's a good sign. That's a good feather in the cap for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. And as much as people like Colin Cowherd and others hate Dan Quinn, right now things are going well. Things are going very well. And when you peek over at the assessment tracker, very important tool, the assessment tracker, another game where all the boxes were checked. All the boxes were checked for Washington. Jaden Daniels rounding in to shape and then some. And even the no-name ragtag defense of players that are flotsam and jetsam made some plays. Like, that's a good sign. Because they don't have anybody on that defense that's any good. And yet they were still making plays. Shows you how inept Alligator Arms Kyler Murray is and the Cardinals.